there's still a theoretical detention time because it goes to one cell, then it goes to the next cell, then it goes out to the creek. And my argument has always been that our detention time, like right now, I haven't discharged for 6 weeks. So, and there is no issue, so sending rainwater out there is not an issue. What I had spoken with Tom Schubert about when this first came up was a reclassification, and Tom explained to me, he was our wastewater guy, that they have gotten reclassification before for a wet weather flow and a dry weather flow. So you have a dual flow going to your plant, because our plant was built in 1968, and their theoretical detention time in the gallons per day was 80,000 gallons per day, which we do exceed. But all of our treatment, we are way below our maximum daily limits. We're not even close. And this algae that started growing out there is kind of throwing things into the works, but still no violations, still not close. Before this had this issue with this algae bloom, we were approaching 100% removal for a pond. You know, I mean, we're getting mechanical plant numbers out of the lagoon system, and we were consistently 95% or higher. Sometimes on suspended solids, we were over 99% removal. Of course, what we're sending out was going out. Well, I don't know what has happened in this, but the plan that Jim came out of the blue, didn't know he was coming, never had any conversations with him about this plan that he presented to everybody. I want no part of it.
Is that, you mean the plan that he
Submitted.
He
He came in this last meeting before, I don't remember.
Okay.
You recall that, everyone?
The meeting he popped in at, I had no idea he was coming.
Yeah.
But that plan that was submitted, basically, we're trying to sell you a pitch on converting our plant to an extended aeration plant. And we would have to build these huge basins. It's a whole different process that I don't want any part of. It's more maintenance, it's more money, it's money we don't have, and we're not even eligible for a wastewater grant for 7 years. So, you know, I don't know where they think the money's coming from, but I called our inspector, Becky Rourke, or Kim Rourke, excuse me, I was getting her and Becky mixed up, about this specific issue. And it doesn't matter if we change our plant and make the capacity more. Our problem is groundwater in the system. It's ionized. So we could spend, you know, to do what they want to do, I mean, you're talking about a $2 million project. And the state is still going to say, you got a problem right here that you need to deal with and get this water out of the system. And I was just floored to see this, and then this bill came for this work.
We didn't ask for it?
We didn't ask for it.
That nobody asked for, nobody authorized. I don't see anyone's signature on it. I can tell you right now, I didn't sign anything, and I didn't green light any of this
We
crap.
didn't make any decision on that.
No, he didn't.
The only conversation I had, and Triad was supposed to write a response letter to IDEM on the early ban notice. See, we're not under a ban yet. The ban will come. It's just like the one with, you know, the sewer plant. It will come, but we're on an early notice. I mean, what floors me is, we just did all this work with the sewer plant. Why in the hell would I ask them to design a new sewer plant? But the bill is what floored me more. And I want you guys to know, I didn't authorize anything. The discussions I had were about getting a new classification for wet weather flow and dry weather flow and the response letter. It was not about changing our sewer plant, adding on to our sewer plant, or anything. And, you know, when I've read through that, what he presented, I don't want any part of it. And it's not going to get, we can do everything they presented to you guys, and it's not gonna get the state off our back. And she even told me, if you guys were even considering doing it, she wanted to come to the meeting to tell you not to. So I don't know what to do about this bill when,
This
You
says
didn't
it was
ask him,
in,
you didn't ask,
absolutely not.
you did not ask Jim to put that together.
No. It was a response letter, which, you know, should have been $150, $175, something.
Like this,
Yeah.
65.
Yeah, like that. And the only other conversations that I had was about wet weather flow and dry weather flow. It was not about expanding the plant. That is not our issue. Our issue is groundwater. And Kim even said that if we can make a log, you know, and show them progress that we are doing something, that they're gonna work with us versus just ignoring, you know. And what this town needs is sewer line and manhole rehab. I mean, that's what it needs. Nothing wrong with the sewer plant.
Well, how do you suggest we, do we just deny paying this bill, Robin, or Manny?
It's not authorized, any part that's not authorized,
Yes.
you can tell them, we didn't authorize it, we're not paying.
well, and the date on this is July 31st, and he was at our last meeting. It wasn't July. It was August.
He presented the information,
Right, and we never
At the meeting.
okayed anything about it.
and that's what he's charging us for, is
Is what
that
he gave you.
information.
That
We
packet
spent
that he gives us.
16.25 hours putting together that
That
packet
you never asked them to put
that we
together.
never asked for
No.
him to do. He just shows up at a meeting and
Yeah,
says,
and I did
"Here,
not
Yeah,
know he was coming up.
and we didn't even know anything about that packet to begin with.
$2,112.50.
Pay what you think you need to pay, and otherwise it wasn't authorized, you don't have to pay it.
Did they do anything that you wanted them to do for the, like, the reclassification? They did the response letter, right?
They did the
But
response
we paid
letter.
for that.
You need to ask for a corrected invoice,
I know we paid.
revised
There you go.
invoice showing, ask for a
And
And I
revised
think- and I-
invoice showing
well,
just
and
for
I can
what
tell you this, I
he
think
had
we
done.
paid, so Robin pointed that out, we'll have to look at our records. I think we already paid for the response letter.
Last year.
Well, if that's the case, we need to let them know that.
So we need to write a letter, just so they know, I don't know what this is, I mean, we need a formal response. Just so if it goes anywhere, you have.
But they can't stand on a verbal agreement anyway.
If you didn't authorize, you didn't request the, it's like me coming to you and saying, hey, I filed a lawsuit,
I like,
and I spent 50 grand. But you go, wait a minute, I didn't authorize you to,
if you
to do
remember,
that.
the last time we had problems, Stu sat here and said, you got a signature on that? Well, you guys got a signature on this? You know? I mean,
If the council or Andy didn't authorize it,
No, we did not.
I did not. And I don't, that's my whole point, and that's why I called Fred to tell him after that meeting, I don't want you guys thinking I told him to do any of this crap. At all. I was floored because we just did all this work at the sewer plant.
I was thinking the same thing.
That's-
Well, and I'm looking at our minutes from the last meeting, and it states that Mr. Frizzell gave the council a letter and plan intended for item regarding early sewer ban. Council will review the documents and schedule a meeting with Mr. Frizzell and finalize the plan and letter prior for submission to IDEM, but we didn't
But in
okay.
reality, it really didn't address this early sewer
No.
ban to me, after talking to Andy.
We
It doesn't
didn't,
address it.
because-
And not to throw Johnny under the bus, but they did the same thing to him in Arcadia. The same thing.
Well, they did it different down there. They did a report and then wanted to go for a grant, which they designed. They designed the sanitary study that we hired them to do. They designed it basically to rehab our whole sewage plant, not do anything in the collection system. So,
But that was a surprise to us anyway, cause we didn't even know.
Well, y'all remember when you walked in, we were all like.
Yeah, we were like,
Yeah,
Oh, hey, hi.
I think we just need to send a letter to them and tell them we want to revise the invoice for the work that they did do, and if we've already paid that letter, if you can find where we have paid that, just let them know that that has already been paid and we don't feel that we owe them anything.
That we didn't ask for the other.
Yeah, and I'll help you put it together, but I think it should come
Start
from,
it and send it to you.
it should come, yeah, it should come,
Thank you, Manny.
you got it.
Okay. Done with that. We have one adjustment this evening.
Phone break. Ian's already done it.
Yeah, we fixed it. That's what I'd like to eat last time.
Okay. I hear a motion for an approval.
Let's deny him.
Yeah.
Tell him we denied it anyway.
Yankees chain.
12, isn't it?
I'll make a motion, we approve it.
I'll second.
In favor?
Aye.
That, or am I
Yeah, that's
wrong? Okay. All right, other new business. I believe we have a gentleman here. You, Mr. Hyatt?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Jeff Hine,
Jeff.
ACI.
Okay, Jeff, you have the floor.
Recently received a bill for $1,500 for mowing, for, I guess, not being in compliance with the grass ordinance. When I first, as soon as I got the bill, or within a few days after that, I went in to talk to Rob, and my first question was, how do I get them to stop? It seems as though once I got on the list, they just kept coming back. And if you look at the bill dates, they just keep coming back. I know, for example, I look at the first time they cut it on the receipt at 6/1. In my mileage log, I was there 6/3, and then they cut it again on 6/8. And it just continued, and I would have been more proactive in coming in to stop it had I got the bill a little sooner. I didn't know. I did know somebody was cutting it, yes. So it was getting double cut. And like I said, it was just like, once they started cutting it, I was on the list and they were just cutting it without going, yeah, he's, I don't think they looked at, no, he's in compliance, or yes, he is, they just cut it.
Well, I'm one of the guys that was cutting it, and if it was over 6 inches, it was getting cut. It wasn't, I was just going to mow it for fun, because I got them all over the town, and I don't wanna mow any yards.
No, and I understand that, and I don't deny, like on 6/1, as wet as it was this spring, I'm not here to argue that at that time that I was in compliance. I am saying I was here on 6/3 and I mowed, and it was cut again on 6/8, and that's just one example. And then as well, later into July, they kept coming, according to the receipt, and it was getting dry. I don't see how I could have not, every week, not been in compliance, because I was cutting it too.
How often were you cutting?
About what, on the weekends is when I come and cut.
Is there a date on your bill?
Yes.
What's the date of your bill?
You want the dates that it was cut?
No, the date that you received the invoice.
Is there a date on here, do you know, Robin?
When you sent that.
Was there a date down there at the bottom?
I don't think so, I don't see one.
I would have to go back in my,
So I guess my next question would be, when was the last date of the cutting?
On this bill 8/1,
August 1?
is there more after that? I don't know.
I don't know
I don't
exactly.
believe so. Once it was being mowed, I don't mess with them. I can look.
I was just curious, I mean, if you've gotten your invoice, let's just say, for example, you got your invoice July 1st, and you seen that you were being charged, I would have hoped that, you know, you would have
Be more proactive.
yeah, come
I
up and
agree.
said something, and said, hey, look, I got this bill, and, you know, I'm mowing my yard every
And that's,
couple of weeks, and
as soon as I got it, that's what I did.
that's,
And I didn't know who to talk to, so I just stopped in and
and
talked
that's
to
why
Rob.
I didn't know if there was a date on that bill when you
I can
received
go
that.
through my thing, but usually what happens
you like
is
to see it?
we don't bill them every time they mow. What they
Right.
do is they'll send out, I think Murray will send out the ordinance notice, and then once that passes, then you guys start mowing it, and they keep a list of all the dates for me at the end of mowing season, or when it gets near the end of mowing season, then they'll give me, so I can start preparing the lien notices for
According
that,
to
so.
our ordinance, if somebody's received notice, that lasts for that whole calendar year. That's basically how that works, so.
So have you ever received a notice that it needed to be cut?
I did receive a notice, yes, and I did address it, and that was the 6/3. 6/3. And like I said, I'm not arguing that first time, but it was getting double cut. They weren't looking at the grass saying, he's out of compliance this week, we're gonna cut it. They were on a schedule and they cut it, I believe.
No, it wasn't on the schedule. I'm the guy that decides whether it gets cut or not. If grass over 6 inches tall, it gets cut.
Is there documentation, pictures or
If it's
anything?
not, no, I can take pictures. Last time we mowed 415 South Indiana,
Yes, sir.
8/7 and 8/14. And I haven't mowed it since because it's been being mowed. We've been ordinance mowing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 houses on top of the 15 other acres I mow every week. Believe me, I don't wanna be in the mowing business.
So, do you have those dates for his property, Andy?
Mhm.
And what were those?
After the first or all of them?
All of them.
6/1, 6/8, 6/15, 6/22, 6/27, 7/5, 7/12, 7/18, 7/25, 8/1, 8/7, 8/14, and then we stopped because it's been being mowed. I went by it this
So
week.
once a
I went
week.
by this week and checked it because we were mowing other places. I only, out on my whole list, I ordinance mowed one property, which is at the end of South Broadway. That was it. Everyone else has been mowing.
I can't tell you off the top of my head how much, I didn't count how many times in between I mowed, but I have mowed in between these. And again, if I didn't know about it, I didn't know how to stop it, and I know I was in compliance.
So you mean to tell me, sir, that you didn't know that after so long, and you came back to cut the grass, that the grass was ready to cut?
Did you send them a letter, Murray?
I did receive the letter, I'm not,
415, you said?
Yeah, but did you call them when you got the letter?
the first notice, no, I went and cut the grass.
No.
So you didn't notice when you went to cut the grass 2 days later after you got the notice that the grass was cut?
No, I did, I noticed it was cut, and I noticed it was being cut in between times, but I didn't know who was cutting it, and to be honest with you, it wasn't out of compliance, so I didn't think about it being in the town.
So you didn't think that?
Early in.
Ed Worrell has gone over there and cut it before the neighbor was doing it. So, I see what you're saying, and I think what he's trying to say is that with two people cutting it, how often was it at 6 inches?
Every time. I'm gonna tell you, the first time we mowed it, that grass was about that tall. We had to double cut it. I came in and mowed it once, and Jeff followed behind me.
And again, early on, I'm not denying that. I'm not saying that first time that it wasn't all the rain we had.
That's why
I'm
I
not
think
arguing that, but again, when I went there on 6/3, I mowed it again, because like you guys were talking about clippings earlier, you chop up the grass, it does make the yard look better. And I know
When was the last time that you notified Robin? How long has it been since you actually talked to her about this situation?
do you recall when that was, Rob?
He came in, like a week and a half ago, maybe?
And you said come to the town meeting.
Yeah,
So from-
because I had asked too, why.
So from 6/3 is when you noticed that the yard in question had been mowed, that's when you went to mow it.
Yes, sir.
And you knew that it had already been mowed,
Yes, sir.
and you received a notice on 6/1?
I don't, no.
Okay, well, from that day of 6/3 until just last week is the only time that you've been able to come up here and find out what's going on.
Yes, sir.
Why is that?
On 6/1.
That's almost, go ahead.
I don't know, I can't tell you when I received the notice. I didn't say I received the notice on 6/1. I see on the receipt that it was mowed on 6/1.
Well, when you seen that the grass was cut, did you have any idea who was cutting the grass?
No, I didn't. I would have addressed it.
So I don't think you got that notice last week. I think you got that notice,
No,
long
he got
before
the-
then.
You got the bill, what, 2 weeks ago, and that's why you came up here?
Yes. That's why I stopped in to talk to Rob.
Well, I'm just questionable because, I would've thought personally, if I got the notice stating that the grass had to be cut, and I'd gone to the property and saw that it was cut, I would've came straight up here and said, did you guys cut it? Or did my friends that were supposed to be cutting it cut it?
There was a big gap in that time, though. I don't know when, I don't know, Murray, do you have any kind of record about when the notice was sent to me?
Well, the card's in there.
I do have it.
Did you get the card? The card was on, I laid it on top of the tower when it came. Top of the computer tower.
All I'm saying is that Andy's already said he was, I think it was 5 or 6 dates there that he had mowed that property, maybe more. I
Once a
don't know.
week for.
Okay, so
every
what I'm
month.
saying is,
Couple
you just
months.
assumed until you got this notice that a neighbor, a good neighbor was mowing your yard.
But I'm saying I went and mowed it in between his time, so.
Well, I'm
I
just
couldn't-
saying, each time you came, you noticed that it had been mowed, right?
Yes, sir.
And so you were just willing to go ahead and let anybody else mow it, and you just,
No, I continued to mow it, and I wasn't in violation.
I see your point, I see your point, but.
I understand that you went to continue mowing it, but like I said, I would've noticed that the grass was cut before I started mowing it again, and would've came up here, find out if the town was taking care of it, or if my neighbors and friends that were supposed to be doing it besides yourself, if it's already, so short after receiving a notice, I would've communicated. And that's a lot of problem we have with our town people, is they don't come up to communicate with us.
And I do apologize, but part of my issue is I work in Plainfield, Indiana, and I'm
Oh,
not
there-
here during the hours. I stopped in my company vehicle on my way to Kokomo, because I had to go from Plainfield to Kokomo to talk to Robin. So, again, I didn't have any idea the town was mowing it.
It was 1250 invoice.
What?
1250 total.
Is it total?
1250. Through the 14th yards.
Didn't you wonder why the grass, as often as you were mowing it, why it hadn't gotten taller? I mean,
No,
surely, I've been
no,
mowing for many, many years.
I
can
knew
tell when
somebody was
comes out
mowing
and
it.
mow my
I
yard.
knew somebody was mowing it, I didn't know it was the town.
But you didn't take the time to find out who was mowing and why.
How do I do that? I mean,
Well, that's why you have a town board.
Have you found that notice yet, Mary? I think it all hinges on
What's
that.
the,
It all hinges on when you got your
four
notice.
15 South Indiana?
And that's what I
Yes,
want.
correct.
Yes.
That's the date.
Got one for, I just had it. It's, in May. It was, I believe that was the one I sent to
It was in May.
how long do you have the property?
I base my mow off what he tells me.
Here it is.
Well, sure.
Murray says,
Well, yeah, yeah,
I got
see
a
that.
violation.
Right.
So,
understand that.
415
Yeah.
South Indiana. Sent April the 17th. picked up April the 29th in Cicero.
So that's what I'm saying, I had obviously mowed sometime between then and 6/1. And so, am I making sense?
Well, you got a notice, you picked up a notice on April the 29th.
Yes,
That said you were in violation.
yes.
So you started, you're telling me you started mowing after that?
I'm saying I did mow.
6/3.
I have mowed different times. Now, 6/1, when 6/1 hit, it may have been in violation then, but it had been mowed prior to that by me too. And again, maybe I hadn't done it consistent enough on 6/1 to where I'm not saying at that time that I was within compliance.
Now let me ask you a second question.
Okay.
And Murray, maybe you can answer this. What does his letter state? Does it state that his lawn will be mowed if he does not mow?
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't state that?
No.
It just
It says
states
7 days to correct.
you have 7 days to correct.
Yeah.
And so if I hadn't corrected it, they would have mowed. And again, I'm not, I don't want to waste everybody's time. I'm willing to pay something. But I also, though, I have mowed, I have been in compliance. Not every one of these is valid, not every mow.
And I can kind of see your point. If it was mowed every 7 days. I mow my yard every week.
Sometimes
every
there
week.
it was going twice a week
I mow it
because
every
of the
week.
rain.
Now, we mowed at 6/1, we mowed at 6/8, that's 7 days.
And I mowed it.
We
in
mowed it the
between.
15th, that's 7
7
days. Now, the next mow was after the 4th of July, that could have been a violation. I mean, that's about 3 weeks there.
Uh-huh.
Where were you at there, I'm sorry?
6/15,
The 6/22? I have 6/22,
maybe I missed
and you
it.
can.
You
look at
missed
this.
one.
I missed one, okay, I apologize. So, you know,
So we
I
were
don't know.
mowing every 7 days.
And I'm mowing in between. I was in compliance.
I'm telling you here now, if I go to a yard and it's mowed, I ain't mowing it. If it's over 6 inches, it's getting mowed. That's the bottom line. It's not like I make the money off these mows. I'm sick of mowing these houses. So to get mowed, it's over 6 inches. I just called Rob the other day because I took a picture of it and I said, hey, you better call him and tell him to mow this thing because it's getting ready to get hit again.
What was that called?
I called you. I mean, I don't really care, you guys do what you want, but if it's over 6 inches and Murray has cited them, it's getting mowed. And once you cite somebody one time for the year, it's good to go. The reason we went down to this is because we got grasses this tall, like I said.
That's
When
right.
First time we mowed that yard, we double cut the thing because the grass was so damn tall. But it's up to you, I don't care.
anybody got a feeling?
I think it's questionable, no offense, sir, but if I knew my yard was cut, I would have been up here first thing. Number two,
Horn.
like Andy said, he wouldn't cut the grass if it was below the
You got no.
height, because he's got enough on his plate to do.
No?
I have started taking pictures now when I cut. Ever since I've received the notice, I'm taking pictures.
You mean ever since you received the bill?
Excuse me, Bill.
doing it once a week, every 7 days.
So probably due to the dry weather was the last time you cut it, on the 14th. I mean, grass has been dormant.
Yeah,
I know I'm
those
more
give
like-
several.
Yeah, I know I'm more like grass, that's my job. and It has slowed way down. But we did have
Yeah, that was a month ago, so.
we had a
Did the park this week,
fairly wet,
did the park and the town properties this week keep looking nice? Skipped all the ordinance posts.
Any in that ordinance, how's the language in that ordinance is once they've been notified with the violation of 6 inches, is there anything in there that states how often they
That's
have
what
to
I'm-
wait before they mow it again, or can they keep up on it and keep it mowed weekly, or, you know, at a normal height so that they don't have to, you know, put the wear and tear on the mowers?
That's what
And
I'm
when they
looking-
go to 6 inches or over.
It seems like
to
if there's a,
second mow.
yeah, I see what you're saying. It seems like if there's a proper violation, or if there's proper notice of the violation, each day is a separate, each time is a separate occurrence. So they're on notice that this is an issue, and then they have to permanently abate it. And if they don't, I think you can move forward with it. I'd like to be a separate process in each time, but I don't think you need it under your ordinance. I think once you give them the notice, then that's the notice for,
The year.
that's a permanent abatement essentially.
Yeah, we have some on the list. Way John Cole said it was, so you know. He said do it annually. We had a house here in town we mowed for over 3 years. Down on Railroad Street.
What I don't understand is this, you know, like most of us, we all know, I mow my yard once a week, sometimes twice a week. But you're coming from Plainfield, is that correct?
No, sir.
Where?
I work in Plainfield.
Okay, where do you live?
Walnut Grove.
Okay, you're coming Walnut Grove to mow this lot, this yard. And, I assume you come once a week? And he's mowing it every 7 days. So if he mowed it on the 1st, and you came on the 3rd or the 4th, surely you could tell that yard had been mowed. At
Yes,
least-
sir.
Okay. Then he comes 3-4 days after you mow, and he mows again. He's saying he mows again.
And I can
Okay,
say,
let me finish.
say the same
Then
thing.
you come back 3-4 days after that and you notice your yard, well, this yard hasn't grown very much. You didn't have any inkling or any idea that somebody was mowing your yard.
No, I knew somebody was mowing it. I
Then
didn't.
I'm asking you, that how come, you know, that went on, this is 9 cuttings.
Can I ask you something? Why didn't he notice that I cut it?
He sent you a notice.
I mow it if it's over 6 inches. If it is under, I don't touch it.
If you pulled up 2 days after it had been mowed, you would know whether it needed it or not.
Well, like in this case, when he double cut it, and the clippings are there, I cut it again to chop up the clippings to try to make it look
You
better.
said you've been mowing in between every single
I'm
time, so there
I'm
wasn't a
on
time when you showed up.
4 inches.
and
That's
you
what our
didn't
mower's saying.
mow because it
Four.
didn't need it. because
The
it
park,
cut on.
everything, for both of them.
Yes, I do. I could say maybe in the end of July, there once, twice.
Well, I'd like to think that we're reasonable people. But, I mean, this is a tough one. I mean, what are you proposing? What are you asking this evening?
I guess I want to be reasonable too, and I am willing to pay and don't want to fight and argue.
We don't either.
can we push and shove a little bit on the amount that's owed, and then you'll never see me in here again, and you won't have any trouble?
I don't know, from a legal standpoint, can we do that, man?
You can. You can cut the amount of the fine if you want.
When was the last time you mowed your yard?
Over here?
Yeah.
This past weekend. And I drove by to see if it had been cut again.
It wasn't.
Huh?
It wasn't.
Is it a big yard?
Double lot. About the size of yours, so
How long does it take to mow that yard?
I don't know. Not long, I'm using a 72-inch mower. You know?
As a
And
council,
and I'll just so you guys know, we eat like every other time.
well, I can honestly say I haven't been by the property to look at it. I mean, I know the house is set vacant now for
Years.
3 or 4 years. And, so, and as I said, I wanna be reasonable. At the same time, I mean, we've got time invested in fuel and equipment. I don't know what's the right thing to do here.
Percentage off.
$750.
What was the total bill again?
It's $12.50.
Okay.
It's been mowed 12 times.
Hmm?
I said it's been mowed 12 times.
No. Yeah.
That's what I counted.
Yeah,
The first, in our ordinance, the first mow is 150.
Yeah, that's where the extra 50 comes in.
I think $750 is, from my point of view, is a fair price, considering we have wages, we have wear and tear on the mower, all that. And I wanna reiterate what the president said, we're not here to, we've got laws and ordinances in place to protect the town. And sometimes it hurts to enforce a lot of these, but that's why they're there, they've got to be enforced. And, I think given the fact that you've received a notice, and, for some reason or other, you didn't choose to get in here on time to find out what's going on with your property, for whatever reason, I think $750 is a fair, reasonable price, considering you owe $1,250 now. So what do you think about that? I just want you to understand, as a board member, 'cause we find other people live in the town, and it's not fair for you to just get up and walk
No,
out.
I do
Okay.
understand that, and
You know,
I don't wanna be a bad guy, I don't wanna be a black mark.
yeah. And we
I
don't
wanna
either,
be a
we don't
pain in the
either.
neck, so, I honestly believe, I don't think I was in compliance $750 worth, but having said that, I don't wanna argue, that's fine.
Well, as one member on this board, I'd be willing to settle up with you for $750. Now, that's my opinion. The other board members have their own opinion. But I think that's a fair and reasonable price from my point of view. And that's with the idea that, you know, we don't want this to happen anymore.
You don't wanna see
You
me
know,
again,
this
I don't
one-
wanna.
this-
I understand.
Well, that's quite a bit to pay to have your yard mowed.
Yeah.
I definitely wouldn't wanna have the town mow mine and get a bill.
And I understand there's gonna be a penalty too,
Yeah,
I mean,
you know, we have several vacant houses here in town, and, that we maintain, and we do that for the benefit of our neighbors, you know, the folks that do keep up their properties, and, you know, try to keep our town looking halfway decent. That's why we don't let them grow up. You know, there is a reason. So I'm sure you seem like a reasonable person. And understand that. So.
You do realize now, with our ordinance, you're on call that if it gets to a point and they have to start cutting again, they're gonna start cutting. So if you notice that it's cut and you haven't done it,
Yes,
you
ma'am.
better get up here and talk.
It's just not gonna happen.
I just keep it cut. I mean, that's the easiest way.
No, I understand.
If you have to hire someone, I'm sure it's not gonna cost you $100 to have that mowed.
No.
But Toby, making a motion to lower that to $750.
I make that motion.
Do I hear
I'll
a second?
second it. Let's have you come up here with a smiley face instead of upset about it, okay?
I think he handled himself pretty well.
How do I pay you folks?
Just make
Can
a
I
check.
smell to Robin where
Tell him.
Make it out to Robin Cook.
Yeah, okay.
And it'll all go away.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, Manny's gonna.
I didn't hear that.
We got a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome, thank you. I haven't dealt with one just like that since I've sat here, so. That's
I've
new.
never had a situation quite
That's new to me,
new for me too.
and it's, anyway, we appreciate you keeping it up from here on out.
Mm-hmm.
Understood.
All right. Any other new business tonight on the floor?
Do we know, heavy trash is the 29th, is that right?
Yeah, I think it's a weekend after festival.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
29th.
the Friday.
29th of September, Holy Trash Day.
Yeah. Friday after festival.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Not much notice.
Huh?
That's not much notice. Maybe go into October where you can put it on the cards.
We did that earlier this year. They were set in the spring.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
set the
we
dates in
set-
spring.
They don't publicize it anymore.
Yeah,
I mean, we're
We
not.
did we did the one in the spring.
that's 3 weeks,
Well, I'll put it out on social
That's almost
media,
3 weeks.
too.
so. All right, can I hear a motion that we sign the claims? Adjourn the meeting?
I make a motion, we sign the claims and adjourn the meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, meeting adjourned.